Hey there. So I wanted to give you a sort of an unscripted sort of story with respect to what I've been doing in the new Aire and how it's been going, sort of from a house perspective, and maybe set aside some of the other things that I've had in the channel with respect to just issues and videos of components and things like that. Just kind of talk about me living in the unit and what I like and don't like, or what's been working, hasn't been working, that sort of thing, and just kind of try and give you an honest feel for do I like it. Keep in mind, this is my first RV. I am solo, and I've had the RV since October of 2017. It is now the beginning of May 6th, I think it is today. And I've had 2 big trips. I'll talk about those, and I've had a couple other small ones, and I've done a fair amount of sort of driveway camping. If you haven't seen the other videos, I do have a setup where I can effectively camp at home. So I have a 50 amp connection at the house. I've got the water hookup, and with the SantaCon that comes with the unit, I can dump when I need to into the toilet in the house. So let's see. I think that covers a quick background. I've got some notes to my right here. If you see me staring over here, forgive me. I'm just using this to kind of remind myself of some of the stuff that I want to make sure I cover so I don't forget while I'm just kind of chatting. In February, I think it was from February to early March, I took a trip down to Florida. I went from, so I live in the Boston area, so I drove from Boston down to a friend in Connecticut, he's west of Hartford, 2.5 hours, 3 hours away maybe. Drove to him, actually picked him up because he's kind of well off the beaten path, so I had his partner drop him off at a convenient location, picked him up, and then continued our way down to Florida, making 2 overnight stops along the way. The first was at a Flying J in Northeast Maryland, and the second was at a Walmart, and I'm forgetting the exact location. It might have been North Carolina. I can't quite recall. And then we went down to just outside of the Kennedy Space Center. There was a campground we selected there. And went and did things like saw the SpaceX Falcon Heavy launch, their first Falcon Heavy launch, which is pretty cool, by the way. Use that as home base for a number of different things. He flew back home. I dropped him off at the airport, and then I went solo for the rest of my stay there. So he was with me for I think about a week, and then I left the Kennedy Space Center area, went further south down to the Fort Lauderdale area, and stayed for another, I think it was 8 days, and then made my way home. So that was probably about 2.5 to 3 weeks worth of usage, including the travel. I spent another 2 nights coming back up to Boston, so I put a good almost 4,000 miles or so on the coach. And after that, I encountered an issue with a slide out, so I had to kind of halt my trips for a bit, dealt with some service, and got myself back on the road in mid-April. I think it was April 13th, because the dates are almost exactly a month. April 13th, I took another trip, again from Boston, this time 100% solo, and drove down to Myrtle Beach, and that's where I'm currently located while I'm making the video here. And I'm not vacationing. In fact, I forgot to mention the first half of my trip, the second half of my trip to Florida I was working remotely. The first half I was on vacation while my friend was with me. Here at Myrtle Beach, I'm here for almost exactly a month, and that whole time I am working remotely. And I'll cover that to some extent on the video. If you have more questions, feel free to ask, but it's probably less interesting than the rest of the stuff I want to talk about. So I spent one night getting here. I stayed only because of traffic, really. I stayed at the same location overnight in Northeast Maryland, the Flying J there, and then finished my trip to here. It's about 850 miles, I think. And I have a concrete pad here. It's one of the easiest setups you can have for an RV. Really easy to pull into and out of, and all that sort of thing. I can definitely say that the new Aire is just ridiculously maneuverable. Even with the Jeep behind me. Of course, without a Jeep behind me, it's even more easy to deal with. So I've been parked here for a while. I've gone through a pretty good windstorm. I think we had gale force winds, and nobody here. This campground is huge, by the way. I'm at Ocean Lakes Campground, and there's like 900-ish spots for RVs, plus another whole bunch of other homes and whatnot here. The place is enormous. Anyway, during the storm, nobody really kind of closed up shop and whatnot, but the RV was definitely moving around quite a bit. And from what I understand, again, this is my first RV. That's pretty normal. So it felt fine. I think the only thing that I had to get used to and not be too concerned about, at least at those wind levels, was the slide toppers were making noise as they were kind of flapping around and hitting, sort of slapping the slides and whatnot. I was unable to sleep for a few hours during that night, but weathered it just fine. Let's see. So, take some notes here. Random. This is going to start sounding random. The awnings, when they're out with the LEDs on. So each of the two main awnings have an LED strip at the end of it. I think I've shown those in previous videos. With those out, the LEDs on, with the Girard awning over the door out. And the LED light on over there, and then the LED light that kind of goes along the bottom of the slide out, the full wall slide out. It's absolutely gorgeous. It provides a really nice kind of nighttime glow. It's on the brighter side of things, but I don't think it's too bright. Certainly bright enough to do things like grilling or what have you if you're doing that. I haven't used the outside TV that much, but I have used the Bose speaker out there from a Bluetooth perspective to listen to music or something while I'm out there. I did. Let's go back to the notes. Let's see. The appliances have been pretty good. I really only have one, if you can call it a complaint. But I'm talking about the what is that, a Samsung? I don't even know. I think I could be wrong. Samsung refrigerator. The dishwasher, the washer and dryer, and the microwave are the items I'm talking about. Of those, the microwave as a convection oven isn't really useful over 350 degrees. So if you're going to try and bake fries, for example, that's where it absolutely fell apart, because I was calling for 425, I think. There's just no way for it to do that correctly. And I've noticed that if I try to preheat anything over 350, so like even 375, it takes forever to finish the preheating cycle. So it seems like 350 is sort of about its limit before you're going to have issues, getting things cooked correctly. So I haven't decided what to do about that. I was looking around at toaster ovens to replace the toaster, and there just isn't the counter space for something like that. So to be determined in that space. The Dishwasher is super, super quiet. I've never heard a more quiet dishwasher. It also takes 2 hours, so be prepared for that. The washer and dryer, I've used the dishwasher 6 times or so. The washer and dryer I've probably used about 6 times, maybe 7 as well. Yeah, so I've run like all the queen size bedding through it, except the comforter. I've run all my clothing through it a number of different times, and that runs pretty well. It actually, I think the normal wash cycle takes maybe 50 minutes, and the dryer I just set to timed. I think I set it to 100 minutes or something like that, and everything has always come out perfectly dry. So it's possible it could take less than that. I've not bothered trying. So that's worked out well. The washing machine, of course, shakes the unit while it's during the spin cycle. But it's pretty quiet. Both the dryer and the washing machine are quiet. The shower, this is not on my notes. I just realized I love the shower. The amount of water that comes out of the rain head is great. The fact that the rain head is adjustable in all directions is great. There's plenty of space to, have your elbows out, and especially when you're like washing your hair, you got your elbows out. I'm not banging into things. The Oasis. So I mean the weather here is in the mornings we're talking about somewhere in between 55 and 65 in the morning. I have so that's relevant because the incoming cold water isn't cold, and I've only had the Oasis set to AC1, AC2 heater elements. I do not have the diesel burner turned on. I don't take a particularly hot shower, but I will note that there was one time I accidentally left the hot water on in the bathroom sink on full hot, and I left it on full flow. And I took a shower at the same time, and I was kind of like, wow, the water pressure is a little low today. I was wondering what was going on at the campsite. It was because the water was running in the sink. Despite that, I had unlimited supply of appropriately temperatured for me hot water shower. So the Oasis has been great. Not that I have experience with other units, I'd be hard pressed to make a change there. In the colder weather, I definitely noted that I did need to turn on the diesel burner, especially if the heat was coming on. My friend who was with me takes hotter showers, and he preferred it with the burner on because he could get hotter water that way, but was otherwise fine with it. So it was a bit of a tangent there. Okay, so let's see. The cooktop, I guess we'll call another appliance. I have taken that out and used it once, I guess, when we're making bacon, just to keep the bacon splatter down, and to sort of just enjoy outdoors. That worked out well. It was easy enough to do that. The only thing apparently that the cooktop can't do is run both burners at level 10, because it's a 120 15 amp device, 120 volt 15 amp device, or 1850 watts. It's not possible to run both burners at 10 at the same time. I've only found out about that by reading on the forums. I've not personally encountered it, because I'm not really in a situation where I'm running both burners at 10. So practically speaking, I suppose it depends on your level of culinary skills and what you're doing, but for me it's not been an issue. An issue. Let's see. The vents. I'm shocked. It's really funny. It's the materials that Newmar uses in here are awesome. If I were to kind of classify my opinion of a Newmar, I would say that the materials used are excellent. The integration of all those materials is not good, and their 12 volt wiring is horrendous. I guess that's how I would sum it all up. Anyway, the reason I mention all that is because it's strikingly odd that they did not put vent covers in. I mean, everything else, all the other materials and whatnot used is great, but they're using basic fans with automatic covers on them, and that suffers two problems. One, the sensors are always misfiring, and so frequently the covers are closing if it's humid out, or if it had rained the previous night. I'm not going to be able to open the vent until it's been dry for 6 hours. Even worse, if I have the vent on in the bathroom and I finish my shower and open up the shower door and send a fair amount of moisture up into the fan will shut down, thinking that it's raining. So just kind of silly from that perspective. The other thing not having the vent covers creates is noise when it's raining. So it's not terribly noisy in here except when it's raining, except on the covers. So just a weird left out item that I don't understand. Obviously easy enough to fix yourself. So I'll be doing that at some point. And when I do put those covers on, I'm just going to disable the sensors, so I don't have any false shutdowns like that anymore. The regular booth, which is my workspace, I haven't used it as a bed. The regular booth, and so not the Euro booth, I was a little concerned about from a comfort perspective, since I knew I was going to be working remotely. I've been sitting on the regular booth for hours and hours, 8+ hours a day with breaks in between, and it's been comfortable. No complaints there. Let's see. Definitely random stuff here. Sorry about that. So I did get the Garmin RV770 unit. The GPS that's built in to the new Aire is just awful. Just awful. The RV770 has been great. It has crashed and rebooted 2 or 3 times in my use here. Now I picked that up after my trip to Florida, so I've only used it on my trip here to Myrtle Beach. So approximately 850 miles worth of use, and I do like it. I like its interface. I like its sort of the speech and the directions and the clarity of the directions and all those sorts of things. Hopefully, actually, in another video, you'll be able to see some of that. So I won't get too much into it here. Just to say that I have that now, and I will never use the built-in one except in like extreme emergency sort of thing. Let's see, the heated seats that I have been great for cool and for not only cold driving, but for cool driving as well. If I don't want to, turn the heat on, or what have you, they get pretty warm. So those have been great. The air conditioning, I don't know why. This was a a dealer spec'd out unit. So I didn't have any choice in any of the features here. I would have gone for the 15K units instead of the 13.5s. For whatever reason, these are the 13.5 units. Get the 15s. I don't have like a magna shade or anything like that on the front windshield. We're only talking about like 80 degrees direct sunlight, in April to May, and the air conditioning is cycling on and off, but I feel warm spots, and I can feel a lot of heat coming off of the windshield. It feels like in a 100-degree scenario in the sun that they're not going to keep up. So it's it's like an extra $300 or something to that effect to get them. Again, sorry, it's random. I did check. The SantaCon is upside down. And that's going to eventually cause issues. I have not had issues with that yet. The way I've been deploying is I just leave the SantaCon, obviously the motor off, and I leave the gray tank valves open through the SantaCon into the sewer, and then I dump my black tank every so often, and that's been working fine. Let's see, I talked about the lighting in a previous video and all the basement storage. One thing I didn't mention about the basement storage, and explains some of the reason I have as many bins as I do, and I want to get more. There are moisture problems. Really, if it's raining, or especially if you're driving through rain, I have had water in them, and I had those serviced and corrected. It's better, but it still got wet in there. I rusted out all of my tools as a result, and lost paper towel and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'm putting all that stuff in a bin now, just because I'm assuming it's going to get wet again. So I want to get all my tools in a bin. I just haven't done that yet. Let's see here. While here at Myrtle Beach, while I've been camped out for a month straight, I did pick up Camp and Move and took it to the Wings Over Myrtle Beach air show, where the Blue Angels were flying overhead and a bunch of other stuff. It was pretty cool too. It was very easy for me to, I think one of the reasons it's easy is because of the SantaCon, but it's really easy to pick up camp and just go somewhere. So that's what I did. Is in the morning I took it over to the Myrtle Beach airport where the show was, and camped out for the day, and then I came back here and set camp back up. It probably takes me 10 minutes to do that. I mean, that includes the slides and leveling and hookups, so it's very easy to do. Speaking of leveling, the HWH system, I have yet for it to really get this unit actually level. So I did bring my own level, and I manually, I do an automatic level, and then I'll go and correct it until it's actually level. There's that. Sorry here. Those are all the notes that I have. It's been comfortable, so I'll just kind of get meta here and not look at notes. I'll just talk about how I feel. I'm not homesick. I'm not uncomfortable here. I'm actually pretty comfortable here. It helps that the weather is nice, but there have been days that I just that I don't go outside that much. I don't feel terribly cramped. Again, we're talking about one individual here in the unit. I don't feel terribly cramped. The unit, as a home, has been really good to me, and it serves me quite well. The fact that it's it's an all-electric coach, which means you have sort of normal appliances, I think is the big thing for me. The Oasis for the hot water is a big thing to me. So it's things like that don't make you feel like you're compromising or doing weird camping sorts of things. You're just kind of living in a small home. The TV has been good. It's a good size. The Bose sound system, I know that folks have talked about it. It's funny. I'm usually kind of the one to be picky about sound, but it's been fine for me. I'm not traveling in this thing to listen to high fidelity 5.1 audio. Maybe at some point I will change out the speaker system only for things like Amazon's Echo integration or something like that. Speaking of which, I do have the Amazon Echo set up, and it's nice to have that. I don't have it integrated with anything. Maybe at some point I will. I would love to integrate it with the lighting, for example, sometime. But that'll be a pet project maybe someday. What else? I don't know that there's any other kind of random comments I can make here, and I don't want to just ramble on. So I think I'm going to make that the end of the video. Feel free to ask questions. I'm happy to answer them. you know, if it's appropriate, you know, I can take another quick video. It's easy enough for me to do that with my phone and just upload it to my YouTube channel, obviously. So, or I'm happy to type out an answer, that sort of thing. So, with that, I'm going to wrap that up. Thank you so much for watching, and like I said, feel free to ask questions. I'm more than happy to, you know, to take a quick video of something or what have you, and just get that uploaded. So it's pretty easy to do. So. Thank you.